I always think to myself, like, if I only knew this information like 20 years ago, maybe he'd still be here. But we cannot take care of others until we first take care of ourselves, right? You can know and do all the things, but if you're a hot mess yourself, like, you're going to have a hard time helping other people, I really, really stress that to my people now is self-care. Like, it's not selfish. We tell our patients that, you have to remember why you're doing this. Why did you come to us? Why did you seek out this type of healthcare option,
So how's life catching up after you went to a summit, right? Or
I went to a seminar in Idaho. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. It was so nice out there. I love it out there. That's the 3rd or 4th year maybe that they've had it out there. And I think they're going to keep it there. They tried a different location last year in Dallas, and it was okay, but it just wasn't quite as conducive to, what they want and the culture and the food and like all the things that they promote. And so they decided, and the headquarters for the company is in Idaho. So it just works out easier for them. I think they tried to accommodate the people coming by having it at a location that might have more direct flights.
Right.
Because Idaho, there's really not a direct flight from the Midwest, especially.
How long was it?
The flight?
The whole trip?
The conference? It started Thursday, ended Saturday night, which we ducked out a little bit early. I was a little sad, but I had things I had to get back home for Sunday. And so we left at like noon, so we missed like half of the day. But it's always recorded too, so that's nice. I can just
What all do they go over there? Or what do they...
Yeah, so Cellcore Biosciences is a company I use for supplementation, and they're one of my favorite because they... just the nature of their product. I mean, it's just really effective, really powerful when we go after like toxicities and, restoring function to the body. So it's really good support there. They bring in like speakers for all kinds of things. And really I felt like this, it's always a mix, but I felt like this conference really spoke to a lot with stress and the impacts of stress. Whether that's mental, physical, emotional, like toxicities, like there's so many different kinds of stress, but I feel like that was a really big focus, I guess. And then one of my favorite things, I actually was going to bring the book with you to show you. I picked it up like on the last day. I heard I heard someone talking about the book. Oh, someone sat down next to me and had the book. And I was like, oh, where'd you get this book? It's called The Fulfilled Practitioner. Okay. And she's like, oh, they're free out there at their table. And I was like, free? Okay. So I went and grabbed it. And it's the guy that works together with a gentleman that comes in and does our breathwork sessions with us every day. They have this practitioner do breathwork. It's kind of his specialty. And so this gentleman works with him, and he wrote a book about, being a practitioner because he's, walked that walk and he knows what that's like. And so he took a, direction to kind of help other practitioners that have been down that road. And I mean, I literally opened the book, started reading, and I was like, you wrote this book about me. I'm in my head like, oh my goodness, this is like he's describing me so well right here. Right. So it's good. I'm already like halfway done with the book. Nice. Like I read it on the plane. I read it, as much as I could the next day, and I'm still like reading it, trying to get through it. But I'm already like halfway through it, so it's good stuff.
So for everybody listening, this is Nikki Barkhaus. She is a part of Wholistic Health Center in Altoona, Iowa. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so Wholistic Health Center, I founded in January of 2020, of all the years to found a business, but Wholistic Health Center is really based on functional health. We're really looking at alternative ways that we can help people restore health and function to their body when they have either been dealing with a chronic illness or condition for much of their life, or maybe it's a new one. Maybe they just found out and they just don't really like or want to go down the path of maybe traditional medicine, or maybe they just want to integrate them. Maybe they want to just see how they can work together, and get them over this hump. Or, we have weight loss too. So we work functionally with people to reset their metabolism, reset their hormones to make their bodies work for them, not against them. So we really like that program. We've had a lot of success with that. Myself and all of our staff have done the program, all but one maybe. So we just have a big passion for that. It wasn't something I ever sought out to do, as my part of my business. Mm-hmm. The doctor that actually I went through the program with encouraged me to. When I started my business, he was like, "Hey, I need more people to help me out with this. I'm doing this, and there's so many people that need this and want this. I need help." So I was like, "Okay, maybe." And then a couple months later, I was like, "Okay, sure, let's do it." Yeah, I love it. So So and I have now a health coach that helps me out with that. One of my best friends, actually, who I took through the program, she works for me, and so she does that with me too. And then we have a lot of detoxification therapies, so devices in our office that help people in a supportive way through the journey that they're in with us. Things that help with lymphatic movement, getting rid of the waste in your body more efficiently and more effectively, bringing your body to a really calm parasympathetic state to help it release things, because that's really what has to happen. If our bodies are too tense and stressed, it can't let go of things that are there. It just takes longer, and it's just harder. Red light therapy is another option we have, which is really great for mitochondrial support. Again, helping in the weight loss realm, and then. Foot baths, we have that as well. So just a nice,
that's fun,
detoxing foot bath, and a grounding mat. We have like 4 things actually. So
nice. So how did you get into all of this? How did you start, or how did you get into holistic medicine?
So I my background's a nurse, right? I'm a registered nurse. Still holding on to that license. We'll never let that go. That's too much work to just let that go. And honestly, it's easier for me to get accounts in places I want to work with, in my own business, having that license too. So, but working in traditional healthcare, over 20 years, was very, very, educating and rewarding. And I met so many people and learned so many things. And then as I got older, I just started kind of having my own issues going on. Mm-hmm. And so I knew if I went to a doctor with what I'm feeling and experiencing right now, I know the drill. I know what they're going to want me to do. I know where they're going to tell me to go or what test. And, Mm-hmm. So I just was starting to question and asking around, because I had been going to a chiropractor for quite a few years at that point, and knew, a little about the natural health world and how there's other things that can help the body through her. And so, I just started asking more questions. And a gal I worked with, actually a coworker of mine, her and I started talking and about this, just there's got to be other ways to help our patients, Right. But we're, when you're working for another entity, as a nurse, you're just a staff member, and you have to follow the ethics and rules of, what you're able to tell a person in that role, right? But it just got frustrating, and to see so many sick kids. We were in pediatrics, we worked in pediatric home care, and so to see so many sick kids and the frustration of the parents, and the financial burden and the emotional stress, there has to be something better, and also why is there so much illness and disease, So, through just asking the questions and talking to people, actually my coworker found this person that was new to town doing a natural health business, and so she started kind of following her, and then made an appointment, went, and it's it was different, but you should do it, you should go, So, I did, I started following her, and then, made the appointment, went in, and had some things checked out, and I was really not sure what happened after that appointment. I remember going to my car, just sitting there for a minute going, I don't know what that was, but but okay. I mean, I was open, to going down that path. I was like, hey, this is what you've been looking for. This is what you've been curious about. So why not, Yeah. So, and I didn't tell my husband how much it cost. I don't think to this day he knows what I spent on that, but it's fine. That was a long time ago. So, So so I went down that path, and I started seeing like some changes in my own health and self, and feeling good, feeling a lot better. And then I was all excited about, like, how do I get a job here? How do what can I do? I know I'm not going to get paid what I get paid now, but like, I don't even care at that point. Like, I was just like, I need to find something different. I just started like really, reaching out to my higher power and asking, where do I go? Where, guide me, lead me, like, tell me what to do. Cause I just felt this strong, at that point, just a really strong desire to want to do something different to help people. Like, I knew I still wanted to help people. I knew I still wanted to be a nurse. I just needed to figure out, like, how do I do that in a different space?
Right.
That I felt like I was more aligned with at that point in my life, So, the gal I was seeing, was like, well, I don't really have a job here, but if you want to be trained, in doing what I do, like, I can tell you where to go, and I was like, oh, well, okay. I didn't know that was a thing I could do. I never even thought of that, know? So, I went and did the training, and plan was to work in that office. Again, I think, I'm a big believer of people come into your life for a reason.
Yeah.
Some stay, some go, And so, a few months later, I realized I needed to take a different path, for myself. And then again, reaching out to people and just talking about the situation and how I was feeling, and I just got validation from others that, you can do this. Just go do your own thing.
Yeah.
Go do your own thing. Go to start a business. And I was like, that sounds terrifying, but I mean, like, okay, like, I'm kind of one of those, just jump in, like, it's terrifying, but I never had a business degree, I never took business courses. I kind of started that way right out of high school, but that quickly got boring for me. And so, I just, I knew nothing about having a business. I just knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to do this,
Right.
and all the people that were supporting me and telling me I could do it were, really the reason why I did it. I probably wouldn't have ever come up with this on my own, and I don't know where I would have ended up, at that point. But thank goodness I had people in my corner, and that chiropractor I told you about, that doctor that we did the weight loss program with, he had told me in the course of my, going to training for what I was doing with nutrition response testing, that if I ever need space to do this, like, hey, let me know, so, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, I won't need that, but thanks,
Right.
And then turns out, I did need him, so again, I just feel like I give so much to God, because I just feel like that's really how everything happened in this space for me.
Yeah.
And still to this day, like, I rely on that man, like, more than anything, because, like, it's not easy being a business owner. It really isn't, I mean, there's definitely ups and downs, along the way. So, so anyway, Dr. Corey, he's the guy that kind of gave me the space to land. It was 30 minutes from my house, not ideal, but I mean, at least it was a space.
Right.
And then, the time. Who knew that the time,
COVID.
Yeah, that wonderful year. So it was a little, well, no, we shouldn't say a little, actually a lot, challenging to start a business in the midst of all that. I mean, he never had to shut down his office, healthcare provider, like he was, one of those that could, he could stay open. So, but, people weren't really going anywhere either, so despite the fact that he was open, it was a struggle to get people in the door. But we did what we could, tried to just keep marketing and doing as much as we could. And, it was really just me, I was my own person and doing all the thing, wearing all the hats. As the summer went on, so that was January 2020, as the summer went on, I, started realizing that I probably needed to get out and get closer to home. And I kept driving by a space that was available in Altoona, 3 minutes from my house. And so I took that next leap and ended up in my hometown, close to home. So that worked out. And that really shifted my business, So, yeah.
Dove in locally. Like, are most of your clients local, or do they travel to see you?
Yeah, most are local. I would say within 20, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have had some people come from out of town a little further away. And actually, I have a virtual outreach too now, which I'm really trying to expand on. So, I've worked with some people out of state too that find me. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things starting out that, challenges, difficulties starting? What were some of those things that, were hurdles in the beginning?
Oh, yeah. Just knowing how to bring people in, because like I said, I didn't have a marketing degree. I didn't have, that business background. I kind of was going off the wings of Dr. Corey, a bit, and their staff, and his wife's amazing. She's super smart, and helped him with all his, marketing and things too. So I really just was kind of modeling, and trying to go from them. And obviously, you look at other people's other businesses that are similar to yours and what they're doing. And, obviously social media is a huge thing. As much as I hate it, it's like a love-hate thing. I everyone says you got to be on social media to have a business. But then I think like, okay, but business was business before social media was a thing. So why do we rely on that so much, Yeah. So anyway, just trying to figure out like, what's the best way to, bring people in or attract people, without on a low budget, obviously, because when you first start, like there isn't a lot of, revenue. So, yeah, that's a big challenge. And then just knowing all the ins and outs of business, like the taxes, I had no idea like how many taxes. It's crazy. So yeah, that was like really an eye opener for me. And when I would talk to certain people, like I got a lawyer, Dr. Corey referred me to this, attorney to start like an LLC. Right. And so like got that, like it felt really official, and then, he would ask me like, well, do you have this? Well, do you have that? In reference to like all the like taxi stuff. And I was like, no, maybe. I don't know what that is. Tell me what that is and I'll tell you. I might be able to tell you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just all those things that you just don't really like, I just didn't take the time to like learn. Cause I was really in kind of a time crunch. Like I went from thinking I was going to work in someone else's office in like October, November of 2019 to, oh gosh, I'm starting my own business in January of 2020, so I just didn't have a lot of time to like sit back and go, okay, wait, let me put all my ducks in a row. Right. I just kind of went psh in the water. Yep. and hope for the best, just hoped and prayed for the best. And, it's worked out. I mean, I can't say it's perfect, 5 years later, but I've definitely learned a lot. And I had so much love and support from people, and sometimes I feel like, am I going to ask a stupid question if I ask this? I'm a business owner. I should know this, right? but I don't think anyone's ever really made me feel that way. At least to my face. Right. So yeah, I think that's just kind of knowing what to do is really, and then marketing, getting people to come and want to see you and how to make yourself different. I think at the time, 5 years ago, I was the only like holistic practitioner, in Altoona. And then I quickly like, here come, 2 or 3 more, Right. And that's great. I mean, I think it's great because we at first I was a little bit like, oh, here comes a competition, Right. Yeah. But no, I and when I stop and think about it, like, okay, how many chiropractors are within like a 1 or 2 mile radius? Right. Like so many, and obviously they all survive and they all do well, and there's something for everyone, right? Yeah. So I just feel like when you resonate with the right person, you're gonna gravitate to that person, And I always tell people too, like, if I'm not the person for you, like, I can definitely give you some, other places to go. But yeah, I think that's just a learning curve is like knowing like who your people are, who you want to attract, who your clients, your ideal clients are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That will, I think that'll shine through.
Yeah.
So, what mindset shift helped you when you were leaving your nursing degree? What was there ever anything that it's like, okay, I can take this leap? Was it, just prayer or something else a book you read, something that was like, okay, let's do this? Like, what gave you that confidence to do it?
I feel like maybe a couple of things. First of all, just the experience of seeing what I was seeing in the medical field, you know, and just that urge and yearning, I guess, to want to know better and want to do better for people. And not to say that, like, traditional medicine is bad. I mean, like, it's got its place, right? I mean, if you get in a car accident, you have some emergency, like, obviously, like, you know, we need those people. Like, they're obviously there for a reason. But I just, for like managing health and chronic disease and illnesses, I just feel like, and just random symptoms that people come up with that a doctor can't seem to tell them why, you know, I just felt like that was a space I wanted to know more about and help people in. And my dad, I watched him go through, in 2017, he was diagnosed with like a blood cancer that turns to leukemia. And in 2018, he passed away. It was very short. I mean, like 8 months. And, I mean, he had been sick most of his life with other things, you know, diabetes and heart disease. And he was a Vietnam veteran. So, I mean, there's that, you know, the exposures to the chemicals. And so I knew, like, there was definitely some other things I wanted to learn more about so that I could help people like him. I always think to myself, like, if I only knew this information, like, 20 years ago, you know, 10 years ago, whatever, you know, maybe he'd still be here. But, yeah, and then, like, even some of my patients I was working with, like I said, in pediatrics, I got to the point where I was like, I'm referring my patients to people who I know doctors wouldn't refer them to. Like, I'm kind of breaking the rules a little bit here. Right. So I feel like I should probably step away before, you know, someone comes at me and is like, hey, you can't do that. That's, you know, not part of your job. Yeah. But, I mean, those people, those kids were getting better outside of what the doctors were recommending for them, you know, they're medical doctors. So I just, you know, I think that really for me just made me want to just step away.
What's the biggest piece of advice you can give to somebody with a child or themselves or someone else they know that is experiencing some of that? They're not seeing results with a doctor. How would you advise them?
I mean, do your research, right? I mean, find, you know, someone who, and another thing too, it comes down to insurance for some people, you know, that's a big deal, of course, you know, some people can't afford to pay cash or credit cards, you know, to a service that doesn't cover their insurance. So that's kind of a hurdle, you know, for some people. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't really like our kind of.
Why do you think that is?
Right? Weird. But yeah, so, you know, it kind of comes down to that sometimes too for people. They want to take a different route, but they just can't because they can't afford it, you know. But still do your research, because even without seeing a person like me, a holistic practitioner, functional nutrition practitioner, you can still find a lot of information out there just following people like me, you know, like the social media. This is where the social media piece kind of comes in handy, right? And learning. There's so many people that even I follow, you know, in this space that I look up to. They're mentors, you know, that I really value and respect. And they teach me things all the time. You know, I'll just watch a post or watch a webinar or something like that, and I can learn so much just by watching those people. So if you can't afford it, you know, to find someone that isn't covered by your insurance, I would say, like, go out on the social media pages and just type, you know, holistic whatever, you know, you're probably going to get a whole bunch of things. I haven't typed it, but I'm sure, like, people will
symptom,
come up.
Holistic remedy.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Chat GPT. I don't know. It's kind of a new thing now. Yeah. So I think, like, just seek out the people and the information, you know, that you're really looking for outside of what your doctor is advising. Yeah.
So what's the next 5 years look like for the Wholistic Health Center?
Ooh, the next 5 years. I am working on a couple things. I really want to, like I said earlier, expand my virtual presence. So reaching out to the masses. You know, like, there's a lot of people around here, of course, but I really want to have a bigger reach, you know, working online and virtually with people. So there's that. Also, group programs. And the last 2 years I've went to this conference I was telling you about. Group programs have really, like, reached out at me. Like I just like gravitated. Like I went to a couple of lunch and learns, or I went to a lunch and learn, and then listened to a gal talk about group programs. And then this book I'm reading that I was telling you about, he also, at the end, I can't wait to get to the end because that's where he's going to talk about group programs too. But yeah, I think that's a way to like leverage my time better, right? Like working with a group of people on a specific problem. So like, let's say it's a gut reset, a gut problem, you know, we're working with people that have gut issues. And so that would be like a program we would advertise. There's a lot leading up to that, you know, to get people to want to do that, I've learned. So that's like the pieces I'm trying to like put together and organize, you know, over the next few months and upcoming years. But yeah, that's definitely something I want to do. We did do a little bit of a trial on that with our weight loss, maybe a couple years ago, I want to say, where we, I mean, we probably didn't advertise it very well, of course, like that's just not my realm. So I just kind of like did a little thing where we had, I don't know, maybe there was 5 or 6 people that came on our call. You know, we did like a Zoom deal and talked about the program and the benefits and all the things, you know. And out of that, I think we had 2 people join, which I thought was pretty good.
That's awesome.
You know, yeah. And I don't know why we didn't do it again, but I don't know. I think we just, you know, you get caught up in your day-to-day things and you just kind of, I don't know, forget about some things.
It's a 30% close rate. You gotta just get more leads in.
I know, right? So these are the things like I'm trying to, I guess, hone in on and get more, you know, comfortable with, you know, doing and organizing and, you know, yeah. And I think sometimes like my systems, I feel like, you know, that is another thing I just need to kind of make easier, you know. I'm looking to like be more, you know, more, where everything I use is a little more adaptable to each other, you know, integrated, I guess. That's hard. Yeah. And, you know, the budget is always a thing, you know, you got to make sure it's not going to bust the budget, you know, trying to make things work for you the way you want to efficiently.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Long term, what kind of legacy do you want to leave with your business?
Yeah. I really want people to know that I am a person that really cares. You know, I truly have a passion for wanting to help others. I mean, I think that's why I know that's why I became a nurse. And I think that goes way back to my childhood. Funny thing is that I always wanted to be a beautician. I grew up like wanting to like make people look pretty and feel good, right? Yeah. And for some reason, my dad discouraged me in that, like thinking I wasn't going to make any money. I don't know. I mean, maybe back in the 70s or 80s, it wasn't a big thing, but I feel like now, you know, there's a day spa on every corner. So I feel like I might have been pretty good at this, you know, and I'm kind of a little bit there. Oops, sorry. I'm kind of a little bit there with my, my office because we do call it a natural health spa, you know, because we have so many tools that we use in a spa-like setting, you know, like our Flowpresso machines, very tranquil, very relaxing. So is the red light, you know, so I feel like we're kind of in the foot bath, you know, so I feel like we're kind of like on that path a little bit. So I've always, like I said, cared about people, and I just really want my legacy to be, you know, I want to be known as someone who wanted better outcomes for not only herself and her family and friends, but her community. You know, I really care about where I was born and raised and where I still live now to this day and where my business is, you know. Most people, I don't know about most people, but I feel like a lot of people don't really hang around in the community and you know, stay where we're born and raised. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more people than I think. But then to have a business there, you know, I think that's a pretty unusual accomplishment maybe. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, I just want people to know that I truly care about health and wellness and living your best life, because life is so short, you know, and I feel like we can do better at making it the best life we can have. Yeah. In the time we have. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. For someone who's feeling stuck in a job that no longer fits, with your experience, getting into a whole nother, I mean, it's an adjacent industry, but what would you say to them?
They're stuck in a job that no longer fits, like I was, kind of. I mean, not stuck. I shouldn't say I was stuck. It was a really hard decision, actually, because I had a very comfortable salary, you know. I didn't have to, like, run the place, you know. I just had to do my day-to-day, you know, patient load. So that was a little hard, but I think when you have enough passion and I just really think like the passion for what you do really drives you.
Yeah.
You know, and so you kind of just don't worry too much about the things like the finances or the salary. You know, you're like, I'll build it, I'll make money, you know, by the grace of God, you know, things are going to go the way I want it to, you know. And I know for some people it doesn't turn out that way, but I think like if your heart and soul is poured into it, and I notice that even now, like sometimes I'll just get kind of, you know, oh, here, you know, day to day, I'm doing my patients, I'm doing my thing, you know, and then on my days off, I'm doing my other things, you know. Right. It's usually something with the business, but then like I got my personal things I want to do too, right? And sometimes I not thinking about my future goals as much as I should be, you know, to get where I really want to be. I feel like that always has to be in your head. That always has to be in the back of your mind to get you where you want to go and to make you successful. You know, if you really want to stand out from others, you know, you really have to always be thinking like, what's my next move? What's my next, you know, thing? But yeah, I think your passion truly drives you to that, you know? Yeah. So just always remembering your why. And we tell our people that. We tell our patients that, you know, you have to remember why you're doing this. Why did you come to us? Why did you seek out this type of healthcare option, you know? Because it's going to be hard, you know, no matter the journey. You know, being a business owner, trying to change your health and lifestyle, it's hard, you know, and you have to make decisions that you maybe wouldn't normally make, you know, in changing those day-to-day habits and things that you do. But you have to remember why you're doing it, you know, and the outcome that you're trying to achieve, whether that's success or health or, you know, happiness, you know, you just have to remember why you are doing it. So I think getting out of a job that doesn't suit you, and this is a conversation I've had with some of my patients, and I love it. I've had a few lately actually that have come back to me. You know, they come to me and they're telling me how stressed they are about their job. They're executives at companies. They're directors of programs at universities. You know, things like that, and it's stressful. I mean, that's a big job. You know, it's a lot on your plate, and they're burnt out. You know, they're just burnt out and stressed, and they don't sleep, and you know everything's kind of going wrong in their health. And so I had that heart to heart with people, like, you know, sometimes you just have to make a choice that's maybe not financially fitting, but for your health, for your happiness, for your mental emotional sake. You just have to move on. You know, you got to find something that brings you joy. Yeah. If you don't wake up in the morning and get excited about what you're doing and where you're going, you probably should find something else to do, you know? And for some people, I know that's hard, you know, because obviously, you know, we're kind of raised in a culture of, hey, everybody go to college. That's the thing to do. You know, go get $50,000 in debt and then go work for, you know, 40. Right. And, you know, that's rough. I mean, even I as a nurse, you know, I had to do that, you know, starting out. But, I just think when you have a passion for something, and I've told my kids this too, like, if you have a talent, if you have a passion, like, go find that, go chase that, you know, don't waste it, you know? I think it's scary to do things that are out of your comfort zone, of course, you know, to move from something that's really comfortable and contentment to something that is a little more risky and you don't really know. You're a little uncertain. But, I just feel like you don't know if you don't try. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It won't feel like work if that's what you love. Right. I've noticed that, you know, myself working in construction and then into my new venture now, it's, I'll work 12-hour days and on the weekends, and it doesn't even feel like work. I'm having fun doing it. Yeah. Like, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's when you know.
Right.
What's one thing you wish you knew earlier in your journey as a business owner or in your health?
As a business owner or in my health? as a business owner, I would say I wish I knew more about owning a business. I don't know how. That's kind of broad. I guess I just wish. I do wish sometimes I would have maybe taken a little bit of time instead of just jumping in the water. You know, even if it was just like, I don't know, a month. I don't know how much time I would have needed, but I feel like.
I think you got to learn by doing it at some point.
I know, you really do. And that's basically what I did. But, you know, when I kind of look at like other people again, and, you know, this is probably the downfall of doing that. You know, you kind of compare yourself to others, you know, a lot. But I just feel like I look at other people and I'm like, how did they do that? Like, they must have had some great resource that I just don't know about. Like, how did they find that resource? Right. I need to find that resource and, you know, do that. Maybe I should have done that in the beginning. Maybe I should have taken the time to do that. You know, I don't know. I think, I mean, there's pros and cons both ways, I guess. You know, you can know more, but I think just doing is really, like you said, just part of just the experience, I guess, and the growth, you know. You're going to make mistakes. And certainly I have, you know, and I'm sure I still do in some regard, you know. But you learn from those mistakes. And again, you reach out to the people that you can trust and that are going to give you honest feedback, you know. What was the question again about my health? Or
what's one thing you wish you knew earlier in your journey?
Knew earlier in my journey. I wish I knew earlier in my journey how impactful food is on my gut. Because that's one thing I really struggled with. And still, you know, even being who I am and doing what I do, I still have to be really mindful, I mean, of, you know, what goes in my body, because there's certain things that just don't agree with me, you know. So as much healing as I have done, you know, there's always things I feel like if you let that get out of control just a little bit, it's gonna come back to haunt you, you know, in ways that now I recognize, but 20, 30 years ago, like I didn't recognize, you know, which was,
I feel terrible. What happened? Right.
Like, why am I on the toilet all the time? Or why am I in pain, you know? And not only like the food, but just like all the other things, you know, like how much stress impacts, you know. I actually learned that in nursing school, and I didn't really take it to heart until I kind of got into this journey. But I remember my instructors, it was almost like everything they were teaching about like certain, you know, diseases or illnesses we were learning about as we were in nursing school, right? And they talk about like, okay, what did the doctors do to correct this? Or no, they'll say like, what was the cause of this, you know, XYZ problem that we're talking about? And literally almost everything, they would say stress, stress, you know. And they also, I'll never forget this, and I tell people this all the time, we cannot take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of others until we first take care of ourselves, right? So, yeah, you can know and do all the things, but if you're a hot mess yourself, like, you're going to have a hard time helping other people, you know? And I think not only as a, you know, nurse, business owner, but as a mom, you know, I think that's a big message for moms, you know, working moms especially, you know. And the working could be, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, I mean, that's a lot of work. I did that for 6 months. It was rough for me. It wasn't my thing. But, yeah, you know, it's hard to be that role for everyone and then take care of yourself too, you know. So I really, really stress that to my people now is self-care. Like, it's not selfish, you know. People feel guilty. People feel like they're taking away from other people, their family or whatever, their kids, you know, to take care of themselves. But that's not a selfish thing, you know, because if you don't have good health, they're not going to have a good you know. And what good is that? You know, what good are you to people who are needing you every day, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything at the health center that you guys are promoting right now?
Yeah, Yeah, so we currently have a special going. May is a big, big month for me. So we have Nurses Day, which was yesterday. This is actually Nurses Week. My birthday is in May as well. We have another staff, my admin assistant, Suzanne, her birthday's this month as well. And Mother's Day. You know, we're all mothers at the office. So we always run a pretty big special in May. It's a big deal for us. Yeah. So this month we are promoting our, we have two packages with our, two different packages with our programs. So our NRT or muscle testing program is a basic and a plus. And so is our metabolic reset for weight loss, basic and a plus. So we are offering the plus package for the basic price this month. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big deal. So yeah, we, and that's, yeah, we take, discovery calls is how we kind of start the process with people. So kind of just, you know, meeting and talking, you know, for 15, 20 minutes to figure out, you know, what it is they're dealing with, how long they've been dealing with it, you know, what's worked, what hasn't, you know, is there any obstacles getting in their way of coming to a place like this and doing a health program? You know, because one thing we emphasize is this isn't like a come in, get a couple of supplements and maybe talk about food and go on your way, you know? Like, we're not Band-Aiding the problem like some offices might, you know, some medical facilities might. We're looking for the root cause of why you feel that way in the first place, right? And that goes deeper than just a supplement or food. You know, I mean, that's part of the equation, right? We look at like 5 different things mainly, and that would be your diet, your rest, your ability to rest, how well do you rest, your exercise, how much do you move, or what do you do to move, stress, you know, and how we can reduce that, how we can help you through that, and the supplements. So there's really like 5 components that we put together in a personalized program for people. Very cool. Very cool. So discovery call, an assessment. What's the next step after that? After the discovery call? Yeah. So in the course of that phone call, you know, we get to the end and ask them, you know, how committed are you to this? You know, how committed are you to your health and this issue you're having, you know? And if it's like a 9, 10, like, okay, great, fantastic. Well, I think the next step is let's get you scheduled for whatever the program might be that we talked about, you know, or let's get those labs ordered. You know, if they're going to do lab work, we're going to get those ordered right away. You know, we have them, you know, pay for those, of course, before we order. And then we get them scheduled and have them come in, or get the labs run. And then we schedule after that to have them come in. And we just start their journey, you know, get them, that's awesome. Get them going. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, where can people find you? We are in Altoona, 3160 8th Street Southwest, Suite J in Altoona, which is near the intersection of Target and Walmart. I always tell people we're near that intersection. If you get there, you're really close. We are on Facebook, Instagram, you know, those social media outlets, and online website, www.holistichealthctr, and holistic with a W. I always have to clarify that. I know people might think, she didn't spell holistic right. It's just an H. I'm like, I know it is, but you know, holistic to me is like, it's bringing in the whole body. It's the whole, you know, mind, body, spirit. Like we're not just dealing with one thing. It's the whole thing. So I just threw the W on the front to be different. I like it. Yeah. I like it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Any last thoughts? No, just you know, live your life with joy, reduce your stress, eat well, and life will be good. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, Parks. Thank you.